Grandpa, tell me about the good old days.
Well, let's talk about the good old days.
So, are we going with the topic that we discussed the other night?
We're going with
You
the
want me to
one.
tell a story? Tell a little story.
We're
to
going
the
to talk a little bit
kiddies?
about toy displays. Your most memorable toy display.
Gosh,
Okay.
let me tell you something. So, we're going to do the Wayback Machine. Going back in time to the early days of eBay. Okay, when it was new, when it was more fun, when it was less restrictive, and for whatever reason, Netter just took to it, and I didn't. I should explain something about our family. We run our finances in the Pacelli household in a very Japanese household sort of way. Okay, we both work. We both put our money into the same bank account, but I feel that my wife is the best suited for budgeting us, keeping the checkbook, so to speak. I say checkbook, it's not literally a checkbook, but you know what I mean. Keeping the ledger or whatever you want to call it. She's just better at that than I am. We each have our skills. So it is our money, but and I'm not asking her for permission to spend money, but I am saying, do we have it in our finances for me to buy the Tribble of the month or whatever, So when she started exploring eBay, she bought things, she sold things, she did her eBay thing. She started her eBay store, which is the Grot Shop, _Grot, GROT shop, SHOPPE, on eBay. And she just out of the blue, she said, "Hey, can you think of something that you've always wanted that you don't think you could ever get? Something that we could buy, obviously not something that she could do for me. That's a different conversation." But I said, yeah, there's something. I said, I think it's probably out of our price range, but I would love a Millennium Falcon Extraordinaire, which was back in the mid 90s, a Toys R Us store display of the Millennium Falcon toy, but blown up to a larger size, vacuum formed plastic that hung from the ceiling. Okay. The reason being is it is the appropriate scale for the action figures, the 3 3/4 inch action figures. Most people realize that the classic Millennium Falcon, vehicle for the 3 3/4 inch action figures was just big enough to fit Han and Chewbacca in an oversized cockpit next to each other. And as you know from watching the movie, the cockpit is really big enough for the pilot and co-pilot with 3 or 4 people standing behind them. See, so this 6-foot display, approximately 6 feet around, is appropriately sized. And then I could build dioramas inside of it to make it, as accurate as possible. I said, if you can find one of those, that would be pretty cool. And I figured it's probably pretty rare. They only had them in stores. Somebody probably glommed them and took it home and is selling it for big bucks. And I want to say Nanette spent something like $600 on it.
$580.
$580.
Okay.
And it was a great little, bidding war that she got into with somebody. And she did the whole wait until the last minute to put in her final bid, and she got it. And it's not heavy, but it's not something that could easily be shipped. They would have had to have charged dimensional weight on that. So we literally had to drive out to Cleveland, Ohio to pick it up. And I borrowed a buddy's Jeep because I figured we might be able to fit it in the back of the Jeep. Come to find out, it was actually too big to fit in the back of the Jeep. We literally had to strap it to the cargo top. And so we had it wrapped in, the guy threw in a sheet to cover it, as we were driving. And the sheet would flap and you could still see the cockpit, and people literally saw this giant Millennium Falcon on top of the Jeep, and we'd get honks and waves and thumbs up as we were.
It'd be funny if you had been blaring the asteroid
right
theme from
exactly. I thought
Empire.
about that.
The packing cushions from inside moving trucks. What do you call moving?
Oh, that's right. We had it strapped down with cargo straps too. That's right, because we were a little afraid that it would catch the wind and blow up. I was really concerned about it. But
final flight of the Falcon in that case, right?
No kidding. Exactly. Oh, that would have been, and this was probably before the days when everybody had a dash cam and was recording everything, so that it would have shown up on YouTube somewhere. That would have been a good video. But yeah, and I'm still working on that. I dropped the bottom out of the cockpit so that I could customize the cockpit and whatnot. And I've got all these different schematics of the interior cutaways of the Millennium Falcon. So the backstory that I found out about it, the reason, you expect a store display to be fairly rare, right?
Mm.
But these are actually more rare than many store displays because they had lighting inside of them. Because they had like the front two lights and I don't remember what else, but apparently the lighting on them wasn't well insulated and it caused fires. So there was a recall on them. So a lot of them got sent back to Hasbro, and the ones that didn't get sent back, the stores, gave, either somebody took it or the manager took it. They took the electronics out. And honestly, I wouldn't use those electronics anyway. I've got to put in fiber optics, right? But, But yeah, we're already getting the comments. Auditor Dread, you're a blessed man. Troy Pacelli, yes, I know I am. That's the power of Star Wars, says Matthew Flynn. I agree. And
now,
and right now, I don't have one of these, but I'm sure many people have seen the bumper sticker. My other vehicle is the Millennium Falcon. That literally is the case because I have a 2-car garage, and on the one side is my car, and on the other side is that Millennium Falcon up on sawhorses.
Now, when you were a kid, did you ever see these displays in the store? These Millennium Falcon displays?
No, not in your average Toys R Us. You did if you went to a place like FAO Schwartz or something like that. And I was never into toy displays like that, but this, when I saw this, I'm like, wow, that is the Millennium Falcon toy actually in scale with the 3 3/4 inch action figures. And I was just starting to get the idea to make my own play sets, and so that's one of those long-term projects for me.
Now, what was the inside laid out like the actual Millennium Falcon? Or
no, there is no inside. It literally is a hollow vacuum form of the toy. So imagine, a clamshell of what on the outside, it looks like a blow up of the Millennium Falcon toy. On the inside, it's just hollow, which gives me a lot of room to do whatever I want. In fact, the whole back area, which is where the engines would be, I'm probably going to put in like a lighting system for the back, for those blue engines in the back. And that section's just going to be sectioned off, where I'm going to put in like a bunch of batteries and electronics and stuff, sound effects and everything.
So this is better than the toy, that the original Millennium Falcon toy, or is this just like an alternative?
I think for me, it's kind of an alternative, a bigger alternative, because I also have the vintage collection, slightly larger, but still not quite in scale. Millennium Falcon that they put out that's got the electronic sounds and the electronic lights and stuff. And I'm going to reuse the chip in there with an audio booster, in the bigger one. Or I might just create a new chip with all new sounds. I'm not sure yet. Yeah.
The only Millennium Falcon I had growing up was a die-cast toy that was made, I guess, in the late 70s. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it's not like real tiny. It's like hand size, like the size of your hand.
Yep.
It has the feet that come down. I still have it actually. And
what I loved about those, and those were toys that I wished I had kept. I had all of those. I had the X-Wing,
Oh,
the
okay.
Land Speeder, the TIE Fighter, the Y-Wing, the Millennium Falcon. Have I gone through all of them? Was that all there was?
They didn't. I only had the one because I was really little when I got it, and from what I heard, they were not heavy in production because I think they realized the kids wanted the big figures. They didn't were interested in these little toys.
So that's the weird thing about Kenner, right? Kenner introduced in a time when 12-inch action figures, G.I. Joe, Action Man, $6 Million Man, all of those, Barbie, right, were the toys of choice, the action figures of choice. It was late 70s and the oil crisis was in full swing. So plastic became a premium.
Oh, sure.
And so they realized, we could put out more action figures in a smaller scale for, about the same price because, plastic is so expensive. And we could do play sets and vehicles for smaller figures that you can't really get away with. I mean, you could put out a rocket ship for the $6 Million Man, but they didn't sell very well because they were so expensive. But you could put out an X-Wing fighter for half the price and sell twice as many. So that's what.
And you could fit your little action figure in the cockpit and all
exactly. However, because they did that, they kind of locked themselves into that scale. So yes, they could put out those smaller die-cast ships, and later on they put out those micro play sets, which were awesome play sets, but they were solid lead figures that were not posable. And they would have sold really well, except everyone was already invested in the 3 3/4-inch action figures.
I had the miniature sets.
Yep.
I had one for the Death Star, I had one for Hoth, and I had one for Cloud City.
But what was great about those was they put out 3 sets for each of those locations, and they were all interconnectable. And see, why I was saying that I wish I'd held on to my die-cast, ships, which actually were not very rare. I could probably get them again if I wanted to. And I wish that I had gotten those micro play sets. It's because when I was playing the Star Wars role-playing game, your little lead miniatures were in about that scale. And that would have been perfect for, the role-playing game on the tabletop.